All right, let's go ahead and start. We want to thank our guests being here today. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for showing up. We have a series of 25 questions. We do this every first Thursday of the month and get to know one of the superstar realtors in our brokerage. And I think one of the things I like most about real estate is that we don't have to hide our truths and our facts and our backgrounds. If you make the money, you're worth every cent you make. And I love that about this. And so I begin with that in the question. So the first question is kind of has a couple of layers to it. Before you tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey, tell us who you are within Keller Williams Monomex. What is your title position? What committee service do you perform? Describe how your team operates or what leverage you employ, and what are your current numbers?
Okay.
I'll remind you all the first. So who are you within Keller Williams?
I am Shavonne Evans. I'm a realtor here at Keller Williams. I am the committee chair for social equity, and which is something Keller Williams just recently rolled out to help equitable home ownership. Okay, so I'm a solo agent, but I do have a virtual assistant as well as a transaction coordinator. My numbers, I closed 33 homes this year. Should I do GCI?
You can if you want. 33 you want.
33 homes, GCI, gross commission income of $188,000.
Very nice. Okay, so I want to go back and touch on just a couple of things on your committee service.
Yes.
Right, and because equity is new for Keller Williams, and you know, I think we're all concerned about equity and home ownership, but how does that also play out within the market center?
So definitely it's so like right now looking at like today is Diwali, what does that mean to different people? So learning as people have gotten maybe upset about saying happy holidays versus Merry Christmas. Well, why do we say happy holidays? Because there's several holidays that happen during this season. And so talking about that with various people, as well as when you're working with people looking to buy a home, there may be days that they can't do it because of religious observances, etc. And then just treating people equitably. So that's within the market center, it's when we see a new agent and maybe they come in and they're not dressed appropriately, right? I've seen that on OKC Real Estate Professionals where they showed a video of this woman speaking and she had on shorts. And two of the comments were like, well, if she was dressed professionally, maybe I would have listened. And it's like, what she said was so valuable and you got hung up on what she was dressed on. So let's be equitable in that if someone doesn't dress the way that you dress or talk the way that you talk, not everyone can have a Rolex like handsome. And you know, I just aspire to be him. And so that is, but handsome treats me equitably with like no watches or anything.
If you ain't got no watch, I still love you.
I think that's a very important role in our market center, and I know how much we appreciate your service doing that.
Thank you.
And then the virtual assistant. I mean, you are a rock star solo agent who has a little leverage.
Yeah.
Tell us about virtual assistants, because most of us hear about them, but we don't use them.
Okay, so I built my business on Sphere and relationships. So I love doing handwritten cards, handwritten everything. And after you close so many houses, it becomes daunting to write those. And so that was my biggest thing of having still handwritten, but leveraging that so that I'm not the one doing it all the time. So my virtual assistant sends out home anniversary cards, birthday cards, just, hey, thinking of you cards, things like that. They'll do some farming for me whenever I'm ready. That's a 2022. And then just going through and just cleaning up my database, making it very nice and up to date and all of those things.
Do you know where your virtual assistant is?
They're actually in Oklahoma. So I actually met with them and onboarded in person to person with them. Yes. Yes.
All right. How did you find yourself in real estate, and when was that, and why did you seek out Keller Williams?
Okay, so it was 2012. I was buying a house. So I got married, bought a house, and when we were buying a house, I said the cliche thing of like, oh, it must be fun to look at houses all the time, right? Because that's all we do as realtors is just look at houses, and it's So fun all the time.
So fun.
All the time. Nothing ever goes wrong, like, we just look, and you never see ugly house, just pretty houses, right? And, yes, nothing where you like wanna strip down in the garage or anything like that. But, when I was talking to her, I just thought, I love going to open houses, I really like seeing the neighborhoods, etc. And we were just talking, and she said, I think you'd be great at real estate. I think that you should really think about it. And she said the traditional line of you should start at Keller Williams because that they will train you the best. And she had been here actually for quite a while, and then she left to another brokerage, but she actually suggested me coming to Keller Williams.
Wow.
Mhm.
And what has kept you here? Why KW?
The growth. So one of my biggest things is I wanted to be, in the beginning, my husband worked out of town 60, 90 days at a time. And I wanted to be an agent. My goal was to sell a house a month. I didn't realize that was above average. I just thought a house a month will be great and I can hang out with my kid. And then eventually 2 kids. And that is, so what was the question? I forgot.
Why have you stayed?
Why have I stayed? So when I met with Stephanie and I said, it's not me right now to be top agent. And I said, that is my goal down the line. Maybe when my kids are older, in school, etc. That is when I will do it. But Stephanie didn't blink at that. I told Peggy that. They didn't blink. They were just like, yes, if you need to be a mom, then that's what you should do. And I always felt like, thank you for that. Like I belong here. They're fine with me because they're not just pushing me to be like, you've got to do more, you've got to do more. You're not making numbers, you're not doing this. So I always felt very accepted at Keller Williams.
Where are you from originally? Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in South Oklahoma City. Yes. I was born in Killeen, Texas. Both my parents were Army when I was born. So I was born on an Army base and then raised in South Oklahoma City. Most people ask where I'm from because of the way that I speak. My mom is from Chicago, so I get a little bit of the way that I talk from her.
Right. Educational background or specific training experiences that translate into real estate.
Ooh, that's a good question. Educational background, being the oldest in my family.
How many siblings?
Just 2,
Okay.
but still being the older sibling,
Yeah.
being the responsible person. From an early age, I was always smart, if you will, getting into advanced classes, etc. So those expectations were always set of this is what you will be, this is who you will be. And I kind of butted up against that, right? I went to college, should have been a doctor or something. I dropped out of college because I didn't know what I wanted to do. However, I feel that because of the way that I was raised and told that I could be X things, I feel like that helps me in real estate say, I can do this. And that's what I've been working on this year is just that mindset growth of like doing the numbers that I did this year. Imagine if I was doing this as well, like how much bigger I could get.
Right. When you started, did you initially join a team? And what do you see as the benefits of joining a team or staying independent?
I did not. I thought about it. There were days, obviously, it took me 6 months to close my first deal. I got a listing before that, but it was a townhouse up in Bethany, so it took a while to sell. And so it took me 6 months. And so I would think, man, I know I could get a paycheck if I got on a team, But then I had this mindset of like, I'm just gonna give someone my money. So I never joined a team. And I also didn't want anyone, the reason why I got into real estate was to have that flexibility of being at home with my child. Like I called it being stay-at-home mom adjacent, right? I wasn't quite stay-at-home mom. I got to volunteer within the community, do the things that I wanted to do, and also make a decent salary while doing that. And so that made me not ever want to join a team because I thought someone would try to tell me what to do.
Right.
And that's not why I got into it.
Tell us about your first successful transaction.
let me just tell you what my first transaction was. And the fact that I made it through was so successful, right? So,
We all live on. I live.
yes. We call them what, opportunities, because we learn so much. Okay, so my first listing was a townhome in Bethany. And this lady who I signed underneath sent them to me. It was a divorce. So, you know, I've got the CMA and I'm stressing and I'm ready to go, and I get there and the wife was just yelling. I'm like, why is she yelling? Like, but it's a divorce, so I don't know. Obviously it's not amicable. The guy had cheated on her. There was that ring at Lake Hefner of men getting together during lunch. He was part of that. And then, but it doesn't stop there. And then he was back at Lake Hefner. So this woman's running, you know, so she finishes running, she gets in her car, she's looking at her phone, like we all do, we get on our phone. And she looks up and she sees this guy moving the porta potty closer to the other porta potty. He had drilled holes in it so that he could look at the other people.
That's some desperation right there.
So that's what I was walking into. She had an STD from him. I mean, it was a lot. It was just like.
No wonder you want to change your clothes.
Yeah. So, you know, it's just looking at pretty houses all day.
Yeah.
So that was my first time, and I just was sitting there going, no one trained me for this part. Like, what do I do? And basically when I closed that house, okay, so the lady also worked nights, so she would want to call me really late at night to talk, and I didn't have boundaries at that point. And so when I closed that one, I was like, thank God I never have to talk to this person, to these people again. But she did call me a year later and she said, that was one of the hardest points in my life. And I am so thankful that you were the one that helped me through it. So that was just like, yeah. She called me from some other number. She got to move back to Missouri with her daughter and her grandkids and all that. And so that, I just think my first one is just such a roller coaster of emotions that it just stands out as my successful closing.
What has been your greatest personal challenge in this industry?
Mindset, for sure. Just seeing myself bigger. So with COVID year, right? Lucas lost his job. I thought, I'm gonna have to get a job. There's no way we're gonna make it, etc. And I had always had the philosophy of like, I'm building my foundation because one day I plan on being bigger. So I would look at teams and I'm like, what are they doing? Because I need to have this foundation set. So then when 2020 came and the market took off, I had come in backing up. I had Nico. I took off he was born in August, had some complications, and I took off for the rest of the year. And it was just like, this is my last kid, I want to hang out with them. Came back to the office, I would get here, I would drop off Naima and Nico, get here, you know, at 8 o'clock, make phone calls, do whatever. Because I knew I wanted to make like, I think 75,000 that year. And I thought, okay, this is gonna be good, I'm going to get started. And as in real estate, we see, you know, it takes sometimes 90 days and we start seeing what's happening. Well, 90 days was March and the world shut down. But then because of that, by April, I took off. And so to see how much I did based on just from that foundation alone, that really helped my mindset change of just like, I can handle all of this. Obviously I need more leverage and things like that. There was a lot of, you know, mindset stuff I need to work on, but I could handle it. And so that is what really, like talking to Marcy all the time and things like that, I really had to start thinking big because I was doing big. So I can't say you can't do this when you're literally doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
What skill sets do you find most valuable in this industry?
Patience, for sure. I am a pretty calm person. And I never realized how calm I was until multiple people told me. I just talked to my lender and I have to call you because you're gonna calm me down. right? I am not one that freaks out over knobs, and Brian and I were talking about horror stories of, paying $70 or buying $5 light bulbs to save a deal because people are so emotional over what's going on. So I think just being steady, having that person you can call, if you need to call Peggy and Bench or Marcy and I mean just whoever you need to call, and they're like, oh my gosh, blah, blah, blah. And then you call your client and just say like, okay, so this is what we're gonna do, and just be that calm, patient person. I think that's really important.
Have you ever utilized a coach or thoughts on working with a coach?
I have a coach right now, and I got with her because of mindset, right? So knowing that I was doing this, but how do I get out of the mindset of I only do this much or I only can do X amount. So it's been great. She just expands on my ideas, and there's just different things that she talks to me about sometimes where it's not numbers all the time. It's just like, how do we work on your mindset and what do you need to do to get bigger?
Right. Advice you wish you'd been given or listened to in the beginning?
Oh man, that's a good one. Definitely every transaction is different. I think you feel like it's going to go the same, and then something comes at you and it's really, really different. And then just being a lifelong learner, that's something that I felt like I was doing, but I saw how much more I needed to do of it, right? Of actually reading and studying and doing things to just learn more about myself or the industry. I would see people that knew their numbers and I thought, oh, that's cool, whatever. But I noticed that when I knew my numbers and talking to so when I got into real estate, the median age of realtors was 57. So when you talk to someone, they're like, how's the market, so-and-so? And like, oh, it's great, it's fantastic. And then you have the 30-year-old go, yeah, we have 4 months of inventory and blah, 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 blah. They're like, whoa. So that, so listening to that, like knowing your numbers, knowing your industry, really taking that to heart. And so that's something that I definitely do more often. So I have actual answers and not just these like kind of flippant, funny answers.
Right, Pat scripts.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
What's your favorite part about the industry?
My favorite part, I think, is working with different people all the time, and that every day can be different. I enjoy just the differences, not doing the same thing every single day. And then I like just meeting all different types of people.
What's your least favorite part of the industry?
The paperwork, 100%. That's why I have a transaction coordinator now. I think that, and then working with people who don't know what they're doing. My least favorite part probably too is just some of these big corporations, like we obviously saw what happened with Zillow just now, but then feeding misinformation to the public and having to combat that constantly.
Right.
I think that's really frustrating.
Tell us something that you want us to know about you.
Oh, man, I'm a nice person. I know that sometimes people say that I'm intimidating. I don't think so. What's something people should know about me? I don't know.
You are a nice person, so.
Thank you.
That's something you want us to know.
Yeah.
Community involvement.
I was about to say, I'm very involved in the community. That's very important to me. Like when I became social equity chair, I said it's very important that people see people who look like me, that they can be realtors and they can do all of these different things. So yeah, that is my heart. Like if you want me to do something, if you can throw in some community involvement, I'll probably say yes.
What is something that you don't want us to know about you?
Oh man, my limiting beliefs that yeah, despite the fact of doing, I think it really took me like looking at my numbers, like doing 32, 33 deals right now and doing that and just looking at, okay, so my biggest thing that I tell myself is comparison is the thief of joy, right?
Yeah.
So it's easy for me to look at people and go like, oh man, Marcy's killing it. Like, I'll never get up to her. I'll never do whatever. And it's not Marcy and I talk numbers all the time, but there are people in the office where I just like have them on this pedestal. And then like when I look at my numbers to theirs, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I thought they were leaps and bounds ahead of me and they're not necessarily. And so that is, I will say that is my big thing that I'm working on right now. And I wouldn't want you to know that I get really insecure about that.
That's awesome. Good answer. What's a business secret you wish everyone knew?
And consistency, I think the handwritten letters, caring for people, right? That's, Aaron and I were talking about this earlier. We really care about having genuine relationships with people as opposed to just transactions. I met a client, or it's a referral, but recently, and she just lost her father. And we had such a great visit, and they were just like, we're excited, it'll be good to get to know you. And I said, I'm glad you think that because I'll stay in your life forever, right? So I've already sent them, I stalked them a little bit, found their address, sent them a thank you, nice to meet with you, etc. So yeah, just actually genuinely caring for people.
I want to go back to, we're almost done, we'll be able to ask a question. But I want to go back to mindset,
Yes,
right? I mean, you probably mentioned that phrase more than anything else.
yes.
We hear about it all the time. We see some people in play. Stephanie's a master at mindset, right? What she does. And then we see it put into action. I have challenges with that, right? Because I'm like, oh God, I mean, I am what I am. It ain't gonna change. Right. And limiting beliefs like that. How do you struggle with that? How do you get away from that?
Yeah, I think speaking life into others, right? So even speaking life into my daughter right now. So with her looking at me, I have to think I have to model this behavior because I can say it to her all I want, but if she knows, like, mom tells me this, but she does this, it's not really going to work. And most of you know my daughter, she's going to call me out on it. So I've got to get it together. But I have a whiteboard next to my bed and I have my goals written on it. And I got some, what are they called? Oh, that you're supposed to say affirmations. Yes. And so like being successful is my God-given right has been my one for this year. And so it's written up there. And so even when I go to bed, I can't see it, it's dark, but I know it says that. And so it just becomes something that I say over and over. And then pouring into other people. So I just had a guy on Facebook talking about how hard it is being an entrepreneur and he knows he's going to make it, et cetera, et cetera. And I told him, this is my mantra for 2021 or my affirmation. And he was like, oh, that's so good. So I think a lot of it too is whenever I can pour into other people, it helps me because I can't fake it. I can't lie to them. So it just helps me also say those things.
Right.
Yeah.
I love the whiteboard by your bed.
Yeah.
What's the bold law? Our thoughts eavesdrop on ourselves eavesdrop on our thoughts. Which one is it? Our body
Yes.
becomes what our brain focuses on.
Yeah.
I think that's really sharp.
Definitely.
All right, what's your favorite color?
Yellow.
Yellow. What's your favorite food?
Macaroni and cheese.
A yellow food.
Oh yeah, I never thought about that.
What's your favorite drink?
Margaritas.
What's your favorite place to visit?
Oh man, my favorite place to visit. I think right now, just taking little day trips with Naima. Like I think I'm gonna surprise her this weekend and just do a little day trip. She needs a little mental reset. And so yeah, just going and experiencing the world through her eyes is really cool. But I'll tell you after I travel a lot next year which one.
What's your favorite book that you would recommend and why?
Oh, my favorite book that I would recommend. I mean, Profit First has been a game changer. Shout out to Marcy, getting my money just set up to where I'm running a business. And then I don't know. That's a good question. And I knew that was going to be asked. And I remember thinking about it.
I think Profit First is a good
It's a good one. Yeah.
What's your favorite movie that you would recommend and why?
My favorite movie is Sister Act 2. I love it. I can like quote the whole thing. Man, what's a good movie?
That's a good movie.
That is a good movie. I'm thinking of like, what is a thought provoking movie that are like, Sister Act 2 is my jam.
That's awesome. All right, if you could pick any three people throughout history to have dinner with, who would they be?
So definitely my grandmother, I wish I had more time with her. Throughout history, I think Madam C.J. Walker, she was the first woman millionaire in the United States, and she was also Black. Just to do that at such a time where that was not what you're supposed to do, I just think of her courage and her tenacity and just, wow, you know, how did you do that? And then someone else, I don't know. I mean, I haven't been able to trace my ancestry far enough, but I'd love to be like my link from Africa to America. Like, who was that? You know, who started that trajectory? So that'd be pretty cool.
Right. That's great. If you smack your thumb with a hammer really hard, what's the first word or phrase out of your mouth?
Shucks. No, it's probably not. It probably rhymes with shucks. So. Are my kids present or are they not?
Last piece of advice for the crowd.
Oh man, comparison is the thief of joy. That has just been my thing. Like, stop comparing yourself to other people because every journey is your journey. Someone said it recently. He said, you know, if I'm like, oh, Tom is doing this better than me. He's like, well, yeah, he's doing that better, that one thing, and it's because you're comparing yourself that one piece to one piece. But there's probably things that I'm doing better than Tom. And so you have to stop looking at that, right? You know, like, oh, that realtor's killing it, but their family life sucks, or things like that. So I think comparison is the thief of joy. Stop comparing yourself.
That's awesome.
And I'm talking to myself too.
All right, questions? Open to the floor.
Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
The next 5 years, that's a good question. I don't know. I know that in 5 years, I want to own some income properties. So one thing that I want to do is buy each of my kids a condo, like the kitty condo, and that's their whatever. If you want to go to college, great. If you want to start a job, whatever you want to do. So I want that. We'll have a new house. I really go back and forth on the team thing because my kids are still so little. So how busy do I allow myself to get, as well as how big do I want to grow? So I was talking to Erin about this earlier. I really struggle with the 5 year because these last 2 years have been so volatile. I didn't expect to see myself here in these 2 years. So I feel like I've slowed down, I've hired, and now I can get some clarity. Clarity is power. And I think as I walk through this season, just getting more clarity, I can maybe answer that in January or February.
That was gonna be my question. Where's your team gonna go with that kind of?
Yeah,
Situation?
I don't know. My coach did say that I need to get a showing assistant. So I'm working on that actively. I have to have one by the end of November.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, I think I've identified one, so we'll see.
So you're on your way to building a team, you don't even know it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, I'm just navigating. Yeah.
What would you do differently if you could, like, if you're starting at day one, knowing what you know now, what would you like?
Do differently.
Do right the first time, or what lesson is the big lesson you learned and you're like, I'm always doing it this way?
I think it'd be the mindset, working more on my mindset as opposed to just doing what I had to do, right? Like maybe like I looked at other teams and copying them, etc., like taking what I wanted. However, I think if my mindset would have been different, I would have known that I could have made X amount of money. Like I could have made 6 figures and still been that stay-at-home mom if I had the leverage, if I had the things in place. But I didn't really understand that. And I knew, and I just pushed back so much because I really wanted to be available to my kids. Like I was sitting over here when Naima fractured her leg. We were getting ready to go into a team meeting and I walked out, and I've always loved that. I think if I would have always been able to have that if I had the leverage in place to do it. So, yeah.
Anything else? All right, that's it. Thank you very, very much.
Thank
That's
you.
awesome.
Shout out to my leadership, Norman Keeps, Darren Wilson, Marilyn Bell.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's awesome. Thank you.
thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.